This is All Things Fitness and Wellness, uniting industry thought leaders and fitfluencers on the mission to inspire innovation and encourage people to live a life fit and well. Brought to you by British Columbia Personal Training Institute. Learn how to train, gain, and retain clients. Visit bcpti.ca. You are what you eat. It's a saying almost everyone has heard, but as fitness and wellness professionals are aware, it's not a message that's exactly being taken to heart. A 2022 Ipsos Reid survey found that 3 in 4 Canadians claimed that they ate a well-balanced and healthy diet. However, the same survey found only 17% of Canadians were getting the Canada Food Guide's recommended 5 servings of fruit and vegetables daily. As food costs rise due to inflation, many people are looking for the quick, cheap, and easy alternatives, which often means processed food. And as our lives become busier than ever, people are becoming increasingly reliant on delivery apps. And that means being cognizant of nutrition is something that's going out the window for a lot of individuals. Someone who knows this well and is using her voice is holistic nutritionist and CEO of Nourished, Alyssa Bauman. In this episode, Alyssa shares her story of going from New York City it girl with a high-powered journalistic career and doing a complete pivot to focus in the area of nutrition and people's wellness. This involved completely re-educating, starting a new career in a new city, and even in a new country. But Alyssa has garnered tremendous success so far. She'll share her exciting career journey, plus helpful tips on growing your business and fueling yourself right. Before we get to it, be sure to hit like and subscribe. We have new podcast episodes weekly that feature industry leaders and influencers. Plus, we recently launched our gym and wellness haven tours, where we travel and explore unique concepts and spaces throughout the Pacific Northwest. Be sure to let us know in the comments where we should travel to next. We're on a mission for everyone to live a life fit and well. This is ATFW. We have known each other through the television circuit, and one of the things that I never realized about yourself is that's actually where your background was. So talk to me about your early career journey and how you landed there.
Seems like forever ago, as they do. But originally, over 20 years ago, I was a journalist living in New York City. I worked for 2 very high-end, glossy, high-profile magazines. And fresh out of college, I started as a assistant editor. And within a year and a half, I worked my way up to senior editor. I worked really hard, but it was an amazing job right out of college. I mean, I had the keys to New York City. I didn't make a lot of money, but I didn't need to because I had access to the best restaurants, the best hotels, the best spas. I went to every museum opening. I went to every gallery opening. I went to every Broadway show. I was out 24/7 and loving it. So I wrote, I went out, I was a critic, I was a vibe, mood critic. Actually, that's where I even met my husband. But I was out every single night. I was wined and dined, and I wrote all about my experiences. It was a phenomenal job. And I stayed within those 2 magazines for about 10 years because I just thought it was so much fun and I was loving it. And it was right about, I would say about 5 years in, I started to get really disillusioned. And here I was living this high life and I had access to everything, but inside I was feeling really empty. And I was going to these restaurants where I think that's what I thought success was. You know, being able to go to these places, I thought this is it. You know, I've arrived, but I was feeling really empty inside. I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I was really disillusioned about, okay, well, what's the direction of where I'm going to be and what I'm going to be doing for the next, 10, 15 years of my life? Because I was starting to realize that telling people where to go and what to do and what to eat and the latest nightclub opening and the hottest restaurant to get into, I mean, this is Manhattan. This is where everybody wants to be. Wasn't fulfilling my soul. I was starting to feel actually completely opposite, like depleted. So I started to look at other things. So my nutrition, especially because I never hit that rock bottom moment. You know, when lots of people in the wellness industry hit that rock bottom moment where their health has just gone haywire. Luckily enough, that never did happen to me. But I was starting to get really interested in what I was eating because I would crave those nights where I would just come home to my teeny little apartment the size of my thumb and open a can of refried beans and eat it right out of the can. And I would be so happy that I was eating the simplest, most basic food. I wouldn't even put it in the microwave. I would just eat. It was like heaven, right? After eating out and getting dressed with, makeup on every single night. So I started to look at nutrition. And this was before, there was a Whole Foods. There was one Whole Foods that just opened downtown in New York City. Actually, sorry, I think it was on the west side. And I got to go to that premiere. It was like a big event. It was whole body, like the soaps and the
Right.
lotions. It was all clean beauty. And that was the first one. I was like, wow. And that got me really intrigued about nutrition, what we put on our skin, what we put in our bodies. And ironically enough, at that same timing, synchronistically, my sister, who is my best friend, and she lives in New York City as well at the time.
Were you born and raised there?
I was born and raised in New Jersey.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So not too far.
Not too far. But I mean, when you're from New Jersey, when you grow up and you go to college and then you go get a job, you go get a job in the big city. It's like what you do. You go to the Big Apple. And that's kind of like what I always envisioned myself doing.
Well, and you're there and crushing it at that point.
Yes, and it was from afar, you look in, everybody's like, "Oh my God, Alyssa has the best job." And I did. And I'm very, very grateful for that experience. But inside I was, a little bit I was it wasn't that way for me after so long. So my sister called me and she was really upset. Her youngest son was diagnosed with ADHD. And again, this is over 20 years ago. So this was not as, normalized and mainstream as it is right now. And I was like, and I don't have any medical background. In fact, I wish I was a doctor. I was like, that doesn't sound right to me. I was single. I spent all my time with my sister and her sons. Like I spent every waking moment, right? When you're single, like that's what you do. You spend time with your family. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And at that time, I was really interested in nutrition. I didn't have a nutrition degree, although I did minor in it at Boston University. So I had a lot of understanding, but I couldn't write about it because when I went to go freelance at other magazines like Self Magazine, Fitness Magazine, the other big magazines, are like, you need to have those initials. You need to have
Right.
the
Credibility,
expertise.
right?
Exactly. So that was kind of in the back of my mind, like maybe eventually I'll go back to school. But I honed in on him. And I went through all of my sister's, her pantry, her refrigerators, and I got rid of the food that we were all eating and grew up on back then. I'm talking the Velveeta cheese, string cheese, fluorescent yogurt tubes.
Oh, 20 years ago.
Oh.
You think how heavily advertised, and we really didn't have a great understanding of repercussions at that point.
None. Exactly. I mean, it was all Snackwells, Eggo waffles, milk that was bright pink, like things that like I look at, I'm like, I cannot believe that's what
Purple
we grew.
ketchup.
Yeah.
I saw a meme about purple ketchup, and I was like, if that really illustrates the time that we grew up in.
Could you imagine eating purple ketchup right now?
I mean, even when you look at the red one, it's pretty bad. But
yeah, actually, the ingredients in ketchup are pretty scary.
Yeah.
So I revamped his diet. I mean, I didn't go to culinary school. I didn't know how to cook. I was a single young woman living in New York City eating off restaurant food. I did not know how to cook. But I cleared that out. I cleared the refrigerators out, the pantries out, and we did everything. I mean, quinoa, what was quinoa back then? Nobody knew what quinoa was. So
True.
I baked for him. I made healthy guacamoles for him. I made all sorts of weird dips for him. I blended veggies stuff for him. I mean, yeah, he did starve himself for a little while.
slight protesting.
Yeah, a lot. But then eventually, he had to eat it because I was making it for him and I was there, like just simple things, oatmeal, banana, nothing fancy, but off the packaged foods. And not immediately, but within 6 months, he had a remarkable turnaround. So much that, my sister got a call from the principal, asking what his regime was and what was going on, what kind of medication he was on, and all of these things that you hear about happened to us. And by no means am I saying, when you need medicine, you need to take it. But I wasn't convinced because I knew him so well. And this was a remarkable change that kind of opened my eyes. It happened over 6 months. So again, it was not immediate. And it gave me like this light. It gave me this feeling. This is like, okay, as much as I love what I do, it's not filling me up, the sense of purpose. I'm not feeling it like I felt this. I was so happy to see him begin to thrive and to begin to enjoy a childhood. These are core years of his life that he got back. So it was an amazing inspiration for me. And again, at the same time, my husband is from Canada. He's from up in the Kelowna area, like the Vernon area, and he was offered a position to move to Vancouver. And at that time, it just seemed like the right catalyst for me to kind of jump into something new and kind of get out of what I was doing and start a new career.
Do you remember the emotions around that? Because it's one thing to identify when it's not resonating with us, but it's also a terrifying feeling, especially because you had so much success early on in your career. It would have been really easy to have your identity as I'm the it girl doing all the it things. So
Right.
how did you navigate that part?
Well, it's a great question. I kind of took a leap of faith, to be honest with you.
Good for you.
I did. I mean, I knew if he got transferred to another city that didn't have an ocean, I wouldn't go because I have to be on the ocean.
Same.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I wanted something new. I wanted to experience something different. And I felt like being the it girl in New York City, I was feeling tapped out. And I was feeling like, okay, there's got to be more to this because if this is the top, it doesn't feel like it's the top for me. This is not my top. So we moved here. It was a leap of faith. I was very close with my family. It was really hard to leave my family, really hard to leave my job. I mean, I stayed on freelance for a little while. In fact, I moved to Vancouver and I did the same thing here for them.
That's a good way to get to know a new
It,
city.
it was again, it was a great way to learn the city. But then contacts change. The majority of the editors that I was very close with are female. We were all at very similar timings in our life. So maternity leave and all that. It's a quick turning over of an industry, isn't it? So I slowly trickled the contacts there. And freelancing here was a lot harder, I thought. I thought it was a lot. I thought the red carpet was going to be rolled out. Here's the it girl
You're
from
like,
New
I've
York.
done this in New York, guys.
And I did it for a little while. I penned a book, Moon Book Guides for Vancouver. Again, 20 years ago, it was a guidebook to Vancouver. And then I just changed course completely. And just being in such an active city and like the beauty blew me away and the lifestyle blew me away. And I really focused on nutrition. And I went back to school and I became a registered holistic nutritionist.
It really
Yeah.
is an inspirational place to move to because for myself, I come from the Niagara region in Ontario. And until I made this leap, I think at one point we had the highest obesity rates per capita in the city that I'm from. And when I go
Okay.
back home, I realize, and obviously this isn't the be all and end all of it, but it's such a car centric city in even context that it need not be.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's all these tiny behaviors that you notice become so habitual. Whereas here, it's like, I mean, even yesterday, I live in Mount Pleasant, went for a casual walk to Granville Island. Like,
Right.
that would never happen.
That would never
there.
happen. Yeah. Well,
And so it's very inspirational.
it was extremely inspirational. And I think that's what, it was like a magnet for me because I didn't think I would ever leave New York City. My whole life, growing up, I went to school in Boston. I knew I'd go back to New York City and just have my life in New York City. You can never imagine yourself out of something that you had this vision of yourself. And then, once you leave that vision, you can live happily if you have that mindset anywhere you want. And then you move to this city where you can ski and golf and get on the seawall. I mean, it is a magnificent and a very easy city to live in. I know people complain about Vancouver's traffic and whatnot, but that is nothing compared to the traffic that I used to sit in. So I love Vancouver, and I think it's an amazing, inspirational city to raise a family and to live a really happy, balanced life.
Yeah, it's such an active lifestyle out here.
Yeah.
How is it for you? Because now it's like you've known you're going to change career, you change place, which again, wonderful experience for you, but not an easy, these are not always easy choices. And then you decide to go back and re-educate as well on top of it.
Yeah,
so
I was
talk me
pregnant.
through
I was
that.
pregnant at the time as well. It was like I thought it was the perfect timing. I was pregnant
Yes,
with
good for
my
you.
last child, Soleil, and I was like, I need to really, because I did freelance here for about a good 10 years.
Nice.
And I wrote a book and I freelanced here doing the same things, but knowing in my heart that I wanted to do something else. But I also had 2 little children. So it kind of fit my lifestyle really well. And then when I was pregnant with my last, I was like, okay, I need to go back to school. I knew I had to do it. I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I wanted to be a nutritionist. I knew from what I saw with my nephew how food can dramatically affect people's happiness. And I knew that I wanted to help women, mothers, couples really get clear on understanding how food affects them. So it was an easy transition for me. I mean, not easy, but it was so clear that it became easy. I mean, all of the work and the steps to get there was not easy, but my mindset was, I was so sure.
How amazing too when we find those things for ourselves that, I mean, I don't know belief systems, etc., but you literally can feel almost the energy within you and you're like, "Yep, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing."
It's like a light bulb.
Yeah.
And even if I get to help one person, even if it's just one person or one woman feeling from being completely, fatigued to feeling how she should be feeling and being able to think about the things that she's passionate about instead of thinking about her clothes not fitting properly, even if it's one person, it just makes me so happy. So when I compare, the it girl wooing it up in New York City, and it was a time of my life and super fun, that feeling to helping people and helping people discover how good it feels to feel good and what that means to them, it just lights me up. I can't even compare. I can't even compare getting into the hottest nightclub to helping people live their best life.
It gives me a little bit of
Like-
goosebumps, literally, because your statement encompasses so much of why wanting to share stories like this was important to me. Because the thing that has blown me away the most out of transitioning into literally fitness and wellness media is people are so passionately connected to their why of why they do this. And it's from such a pure place. Like, you want people to live well and feel good. So when you make this transition and now you're doing this as a career, and obviously Nourished has been an incredible success.
Thank you.
When you look at the populace and how a lot of people live their lives, what frustrates you? What are we missing? Turn your passion for fitness into a career with British Columbia Personal Training Institute. Taught by personal trainers, BCPTI combines classroom and in-gym training to give you the tools needed to succeed in the fitness industry and make an impact. With a simple formula focused on service, science, and sales, prospective personal trainers learn how to gain, train, and retain clients. Visit bcpti.ca for more information. Out here, especially when it comes to North American lifestyle.
What are we missing? I mean, we're missing. There's so much missing in it. That's what makes me want to be here. But just to go back to what you said about connecting to your whys, that is what I ask my clients all the time. My biggest question to them is like, why do you want to feel good? Why do you want to get healthy? Because when you connect to your whys, like the why, like getting really clear on why you want to feel good, the hows, the going to the gym, the getting outside to exercise, the meditating, the waking up early, whatever that may be, the eating well just becomes so much easier. Like, it's when you connect to the why, those hows that everybody thinks is so hard become easy.
Well, and you probably uncover too, because obviously we know for a lot of people, weight loss is a huge
Weight loss is
goal.
huge.
I'm sure that's what people come to you a lot of the time. But you peel that back and then you're like, but for whom?
Yes.
And a lot of times it's societal pressures where they're thinking, oh, there's an ideal that I need to subscribe to. And then I think when you dig layers deeper, you realize that that's shouldn't be the why
be there.
anyone.
Once we get rid of that, exactly. You're doing it for yourself so you can
Yes.
actually feel what feeling good feels like. Because getting back to your question about what we're doing wrong is the majority of us are just not living the way that makes us feel good. I mean, the majority of us, and listen, we're all, I mean, we all do it a little bit, but when it becomes doing it more than doing the things that are good for you, that's when the problem is. And what we're seeing now, especially with constantly being connected and the easy distractions and the constant binge watching and the constant delivery of food, it's just becomes what normalcy looks like. And unfortunately, I think we're living it wrong. And no one is able to feel their best when they're up really late, eating ice cream, watching shows to numb out their feelings, and shows that only light their brain up, and make them even more anxious, and then wake up feeling exhausted. Well, we're waking up feeling exhausted because we didn't get enough sleep. Well, we didn't get enough sleep because we numbed ourselves out because something else we're doing wrong, right? So the processed foods, the added sugars, the rushing, the constant rush that we're all in,
Good one to highlight.
the not
How
sleeping.
quickly, not to cut you off there, but with you, I'm glad you highlight that, because you reverse to March 2020, where obviously horrible, terrifying time for the world.
Yes.
But all of a
Yes.
sudden you had the people that were able to do in that moment. It was like a collective deep breath of, I'm just going to slow down for a second.
Yeah.
And it's interesting as humans how quickly we've reverted back
How
to
we
the
forget.
Yeah.
How we forget. I mean, did you bring anything into this from what you learned from COVID? I mean, we're right back in it, scheduling things, doing it. I mean, I'm a culprit of it. We
Yep.
all are, but you have to take the breath and to kind of catch it.
Definitely. And one thing that I noticed just even with how you're communicating is being a nutritionist runs far beyond telling people what to eat.
Yes.
You
Yes.
are sitting with your clients, and tell me a little bit about the approach that you do to navigate, because if it was as simple as somebody just saying, here you
Here's
go,
what to eat.
then I think we'd all be good and fine. But you
Yes.
really are
Yes.
about creating a lifestyle.
It's a
and
lifestyle.
habits for someone.
Yeah, that's why I call myself more of a holistic nutritionist. I take a holistic approach. And listen, food is food. I'm never going to say don't eat that ever, because it just creates deprivation, and deprivation paralyzes. And then if I'm telling you can't have your coffee, all you're going to think about is your coffee.
Yep.
So my philosophy is to add in more of the food that serves us, and eventually, maybe not overnight, maybe not in a week, maybe not in 3 weeks, but eventually, if you continue and you're consistent adding in the foods that are good for us or better for us, it will crowd out the other foods. So if I'm constantly adding in, spinaches and kales and whole foods and oatmeals and high fiber rich foods and high protein rich foods, you're going to not have room for the Cheetos and the Doritos and the baked goods and all of those things. And eventually what starts to shift is that your palate starts to change. And things that you used to like so much, you don't like them that much anymore, because you're introducing new foods into your body that really, really oxygenate every cell in your body. And when you start to feel the results, you want to kind of continue on that. It's like a circle. The more you feel good, the more you're going to want to eat to fuel yourself and to feel good. And it just goes in this circle. And when something happens and you fall off the wagon, that's okay. You'll feel that too. You get right back on. You don't self-sabotage. You don't feel terrible. You don't ruin the whole day and just eat the entire bag of Doritos or Ben and Jerry's. Enjoy what you want to enjoy, and then go back to eating the foods that we all know that fuel us and that we should be eating more of. So I don't want to take away your favorite things. I mean, I love pizza. I'm a New Yorker. I love good pizza.
You love and
okay?
you know good pizza.
I know good pizza. And you know what I do with my pizza? I put kale on it. I put arugula on it. I put spinach on it. I add in the things that I know make my body thrive. So I don't take it away.
And you made such a good point. So as you'll see on All Things Fitness and Wellness, Alyssa made some fantastic treats, let us tour her fridge, all these wonderful good things.
That was fun.
But as we did it, we were just casually chatting, and I'm like, yeah, for breakfast, I have like my grapefruit and then rice cakes. And I was like, those aren't exactly nutrient dense. And you were like, cool, add your chia seeds on top. Like,
Yeah.
you were like, here's an easy alternative to make this a better way to fuel your body.
And that's exactly what I do with my clients. So I sit down, we talk about, yes, we start with food. We 100% talk about food. The shoulds, the woulds, I try not to do. I just add in. I just continue to add in, and then eventually things kind of start to fall away. And then we talk about everything else, like sleep and movement. And another thing about movement, I don't have time to move. We all have time. It's all about prioritizing what is important. And when you get really clear on your whys, all of a sudden the priorities start to fall in place. And when you consistently ask yourself, how do I want to feel? Do I want to feel good? Then you do the things that help you make you feel good. Do I want to go to bed every night at 9 o'clock? Not really, but I know it will help me and make my day tomorrow amazing. So what's more important?
1,000%. And it is so interesting how quickly those priorities can
Oh,
shift, especially once you've had that first experience or glimpse of what good feels like. Because a lot of us
yes.
are almost numb to what good feels like
We're
because
all,
we're habitual creatures. You're just in the mix, and
and
that's that.
we're living in this numb state of mind, and
Mhm.
it's from numbing ourselves with food and numbing ourselves with not sleeping, numbing ourselves with online shopping, like whatever the gratification is that happens super fast. We get that quick dopamine hit. What about the dopamine hit that comes from running in the forest or going to the gym or lifting weights, that endorphin? Like, there's nothing better than that.
I could not agree more.
I
And it's
know.
about finding the element
Find,
that works for you too, because I am a quote unquote gym rat.
you
For
love the
me,
gym.
I was never talented in sports or anything like that. So that's where it became my meditative place. And that's what I gravitated to. But I even just was back home and had a conversation with my sister who's like, ooh, I know I need a lifestyle shift. And I was like, you have these gorgeous dogs, like get some good music. Like they would love a good walk in the forest.
Oh,
And
of
so we did a few of
course.
those. And
Yeah.
I was like,
So
this
nice.
is the nice step. I was like, you don't need to take a grandeur step to get started. It literally is small shift.
And you just hit the nail right on the head. And that's what people are so afraid to make any type of change, because they think it's an all or nothing approach. They've got to throw the towel in here to do something. It's like, take baby steps. So I make habits stackable. So what we'll do is we'll start with a green juice and a walk outside for 20 minutes. Everybody can do that. You start taking your calls outside. So that's something. I have one client who is on her phone all the time for work, has to be. She's a project manager. She's constantly managing, but she doesn't need to be in front of her screen. I'm like, how would this feel if you put your AirPods in and you walked? You put your coat on, whatever the weather is, just dress for it and go for a walk. And she came back to me and she's like, oh my God, Alyssa, like I usually sit at my desk 8 to 10 hours a day. She's like, I was outside for 2 hours. The time flew. My meetings flew. I felt more productive. And that's just one teeny little lifestyle shift. Not everybody can do that. I get that. But I work with my clients to try to create these certain lifestyle tools and tricks and swaps. I call them healthy swaps, to try to just fit in a little bit more health or prioritize a little bit more health.
So somebody that has sought help through Nourished,
Mm-hmm.
generally how long do people kind of need? I don't want to say hand holding, but to a degree,
Yeah,
a little bit of
it's
that.
accountability.
Anytime, 1,000%. So, what would you say is kind of the time frame for most people to see an attainable lifestyle shift? Because we know if we do
Yep.
it for a day or 2 days, it's not going to stick.
Well, one thing that I tell everybody, this is not a diet. Like, I'm not putting you on a diet. You're not with me for 4 months, and then you get whatever it is that you want, the number on the scale, your pants feeling tighter. This is not a diet. So if you are coming to me to lose weight and that's your foremost priority, probably not the right person to come to. Will weight loss happen while we work together on your diet, on your lifestyle, on your sleep schedule? Usually 100%.
It's a side effect.
It's an
almost, yeah.
absolute side effect. So I would say 4 months. I would say 4 months. I have a 4-month program. It's very individual. It very much depends. I also have a 6-week program. I have a 4-week program. But the accountability is really, I think, what helps people the most to kind of tune in, check in with me. Like I have a nutritionist in your pocket. I'm available via text. I'm like, yeah, that's probably not working. So we go through, in the very, very beginning, I show everybody how to make my signature green smoothie.
And although this isn't a green smoothie, can we just talk about how sweet that I got? The only
It
reason why I
matches.
haven't dove in yet is because I know my mouth will turn purple.
Oh,
I'm
it
gonna
will.
chug this.
Oh, well.
And
you'll
she
have a
makes
little
the best smoothies and always has great recipes on her social media. So thank you.
You'll have a little purple mustache.
Yeah,
And
which
I
I'm so
didn't-
game for.
I didn't even realize it matches
Oh
your
my gosh, it
branding
does.
so well. I teach you how to, like what we did in the fridge, just kind of how to prioritize and organize so the hows are that much easier, because it's really just a matter of a mental puzzle. And usually what happens is that we all are in our own way. So once we get past that hurdle of, okay, I can do this step by step, the big picture all of a sudden looks attainable. So I really work in the beginning, step by step, how to make a green smoothie, how to add more greens into your diet, how to try to kind of cut the sugars down just a little bit. Listen, I'm not going to take it away, but we're going to cut it down. It depends on how serious you want to do. I drink maple syrup in my coffee every single morning. I mean, that's my ritual. I love it. I sit down with it and I enjoy it. So small little steps we work on. And then as I see the progress happening, I kind of back off a little bit, and then we'll meet. Instead of meeting once a week, we'll meet every 2 weeks. Instead of meeting every 2 weeks, we'll meet at once a month, and until I see the progress. And usually what starts to take over, and I know that you know this, is that when you're in the right frame of mind and you're ready to receive, the momentum and feeling good kind of starts to just take over, and it's like the wheels on a train. And when I see that, I'm just like, oh, it makes
You're
me
like my baby.
finally people can see for themselves how good healthy feels, and they stop worrying about their pants being too tight, or they start worrying about fitting into a certain dress, or they start worrying about their body, and all of a sudden they can think about the things that fuel them. And that's really why I do this, because once we get to take away that stigma that women have to look a certain way and fit into a certain pair of pants, all of their energy can move to their passions in their life instead of worrying about the size that they are.
Your passion literally bounces off of you, but also what you speak to there as well is your role in that is healing us quite a bit as well from
Yeah.
what we were indoctrinated with so heavily growing up. I mean, it still exists
It's
very much in the
100%
social
still
media
exists.
sphere in a big, it's like a whole new beast.
It's a whole new beast. I mean, I have 3 daughters and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no. But it's something that we have to constantly beat back at and kick out and not accept it. You know, it's something, especially with the social media, it's really hard.
Yeah. And I can only imagine too.
But
I
things are
mean,
getting better
yep.
a little.
Well, and I think there's like a lot of conversation at least and
Mhm.
awareness around it, but I
Mhm.
don't think anyone has the clear-cut answer on how to tackle it. And it's fascinating too because we often think that it's just young women or they like that are going through and feeling these pressures, but we do it to
We
ourselves
do it to
as
ourselves.
adults as well.
Oh, yeah.
Comparison,
Oh,
majorly thief of
comparison.
joy, right?
Comparisonitis, that's what I call it to my girls. I'm like, it's gonna there's always gonna be someone smarter, better, skinnier, fatter, whatever. There's always gonna be that person. You need to get clear and be comfortable with the person that you are. So shut it down. Shut your social media off if you can't get comfortable with who you are, and spend some time knowing yourself, knowing what makes you feel really good, knowing what the things that make you happy. Start doing the things that make you happy instead of what, society is telling you that's going to make you happy. So shut that down and get clear. That's what I tell my girls all the time.
Well, and I think for them, you're an incredible role model because you
Yeah.
also have lived experience of doing that for yourself, like
Yeah.
having enough love to know, even when you had every pull of an exciting phase 1 career.
Yeah, phase 1.
And then to realize, like, oh, I actually want to rejig this and do this for myself because it makes my heart sing and brings me passion. And
Yeah.
that's a very incredible role model they have in front of them. So
Thank
good for you
you.
for taking those big leaps.
Thank you.
As you're taking a client through, I know it's difficult to generalize,
Mhm.
but along the journey, is there any common theme or struggle that you notice in people that we all kind of need to get over?
It's our own struggle. Honestly, it's like, I can't do this. I don't have time for this. The timing thing is massive. So when someone is taking on, a commitment like working with me, kind of revamping my nutrition a little bit, it does take a little bit of time. I'm not going to lie. I'm not saying it's time consuming, but anything that's worth anything takes some time. So we talked about this yesterday, does, ordering food on an online service, DoorDash, take time? Yep. And then it gives you time to do something else. I get that, but what are you normally doing?
Scrolling.
Probably scrolling or doing something online.
Checking
right?
the map to say how close
Yeah,
is my
where is
food?
it? You could easily, it's just about prioritizing what's important to you. So if time is a thing, and I hear this all the time, you have lots of time to scroll, but no time to chop veggies. So I did this and I posted this on my social the other day. It was Monday. It was 3:19. I had to leave to get my children at 3:30 from school. I closed my computer because I was really just kind of cleaning up, but I could tell I was distracted. I wasn't really doing anything. I got up, I chopped carrots, I prepared my green juice, I chopped celery, I put it all in containers, I cleaned cucumbers, I prepped some chickpea salad, and I cut tofu in 11 minutes.
Nice.
So I just, when you prioritize where your time goes, so many things open up.
Well, and I think the indirect byproduct as well in our fridge tour we'll talk about is that because you're prepping everything appropriately too, something that's important to all of us right now is cost in grocery. And you had so many incredible hacks by prepping things in the right way, storing them in the right way.
Right.
You have longevity too.
Longevity. And by the way, the time, that 11 minutes that I just spent, 11 minutes, we all have 11 minutes. Now when I make dinner, or when I teach my clients how to make dinner with the things that we've already prepped, dinner now is no longer a 45-minute process, but maybe can be pulled together in 22 minutes. So yes, put the time in, but it will pay off in the long run. So, and that's the same way that you could think about what you're putting in your body. Putting in the good stuff, guarantee, aside from weight loss and energy and great skin and just feeling your most vital, hopefully what we're doing is preventing disease that's plaguing us. So by putting in the good stuff now, you will pay for later.
Well, and that's the nice thing I do find in this industry. There's a really big conversation shift that's more around health span and lifespan. Like, and even there's
Longevity.
been some studies for Gen Z and behind that are like actually thinking about these elements as well, where I'm like, the future does seem a little bit exciting.
Yeah.
That people didn't grow up on purple ketchup.
Right. And you're going to be, we're going to be healthier as we age, right? We're going to be in our 60s and in our 70s and being able to do the things that I'm so connected to. My whys are being able to like be a fun, outgoing, like go play with my grandchildren. Kind of, that's my why. So I'm doing all I do for myself, for them. Right? So we can run and play. I want to run and play.
Right? And I mean, to be honest, it's like as adults, how many times do we forget that we're like, run and play? We love to do it as a kid.
Yeah.
It's just as fun as an adult.
I think it's more fun because we don't do it, right?
Exactly. For yourself, obviously, you've kind of married your two career paths in a really big way, because something that impresses me about yourself is your tenacity and the branding that you built around yourself.
I've had help with that.
Thank
you.
All around the media circuits as well. So talk to me a little bit about the importance of just building awareness around your brand so that you are able to, because it is a facet. You could be the most amazing in the world, but if no one knows that you're out there, then your business isn't going to thrive.
That's tricky. It's a hard one, but I've used everything that I learned in public relations, with the magazines that I worked with food styling, because I did a ton of that, with taking photos, helping in photography. But it all marries together. So I always tell, people who are starting out young in their careers, you never know. I mean, did I ever think in a million years that I'd be on TV, be sitting here with you, being a nutritionist? Like, I never thought about that. So I always tell people, it's like, wherever you are in your life will be a stepping stone for wherever you're going to be. Branding on its own is hard, especially with social media. I have an incredible team to help me. I have a great graphic designer. She really helps me. But it has to be clear. Like, your messaging, I think, has to be clear.
Well, you do a fantastic job of that, Alyssa.
Thank
truly.
you.
As you look back on your journey, where you began and now where you stand, what have been some of the biggest learnings, maybe lessons that you'll impart on your own daughters from your lived experience?
Well, we touched on the comparisonitis.
Yeah.
We really did. I tell them all the time, because it is the thief of joy. It really is, because there's always going to be something. So my second one was just like, be really true to yourself. Be true to what you want. What is it that you want? Not what people want for you is not what you want. And again, I say this all the time to my girls, is that, like, don't worry about what other people think of you. Just be who you are. It shouldn't be that much work. And if it's that much work, those people are not your friends. That's where I am right now in the teenage life. That's what I would tell anybody who has teenage children. That's really where it's at. And I think if you think about that, as I thinking about it right now in your adult life, I don't think that changes very much. Be true to yourself and not to worry about what other people think of you.
That's such good advice too for the adults, because I think that when we do make that identification with our sense of selves, it's amazing who gravitates into your sphere. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, you start meeting people that resonate in the same way, or they're there to teach you something, and you're so much more open to
Open.
receive that.
Yeah. And the other noise, the other people that maybe are not, they're not toxic in your life, but they're not adding to it. They can just also stay on the outskirts, and that's okay too. You have friends in your life for different reasons, for different times in your life. But you'll find your one or two rocks. That's all you need.
Oh, it is so true. And it really is one of those things of making peace with those that are maybe there for a season.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's all a journey. And who knows? I have to know, for somebody that has done these amazing pivots, and then obviously you become more digital focused
Yes.
throughout the pandemic.
Yes.
What do you see for yourself within this industry as you move forward?
Well, helping people clean up their diet, clean up their lifestyle so they can feel good, being consistent, getting through that mental chatter that majority of people struggle with. I really just want to try to get my message across that this isn't a diet and you're not going on a diet, but living a healthier lifestyle is attainable for everybody. It's not more money, okay? It's not more time consuming if you shift around your time. I just want my business to grow on a digital platform. And I have something called the A to B Foundation, and it's a 4-week online program that you can get. And you basically have me in your back pocket. It's 5 or 6 videos of how to get these lifestyle skills that I'm teaching just in more nuggets. So you can take it on the go, you can listen to it wherever you are, and then there's follow-up steps to get you there. So that's kind of where I'm trying to push right now. And I would love to eventually write some kind of book. Not really a cookbook, but I'm thinking a lifestyle book with recipes. A recipe of life.
That's actually a fantastic name. And quite honestly, Alyssa, from how I've known you within the media sphere and all of this, I just feel like I've got to know you enough that I'm like, that's happening. It will.
Thank you.
I have no doubt. I think it's in your mindset, it's in your fiber, and you're going to be fueled and energized to do it. So that's helpful.
And it happens, you know what? Things happen at their own time, and sometimes you push and you push and you push and nothing happens. And then you feel, you get upset. And then all of a sudden, as you said before, people come into your life or you put it out there in the universe. And all of a sudden, when you stop pushing, it happens. And that's magic.
Oh, it's so magic.
I know.
We have to be in tune and paying attention to that magic, or
Totally.
the allowing.
Totally.
I
The
think
allowing.
that's a lot of times
the opening
where
and
we
the
can be a little too closed off, and you're not paying attention. And it's funny how things work, where sometimes it's like a little ping, you didn't notice, and eventually like universe is smacking you in the head, being like, hey.
And you know what's really fascinating about that is that when you pay attention to what you're eating and what you're drinking and what you're consuming, when I say that, I mean reading, social media, just what we consume, TV, and constant movement and being outside in nature, all of the things are in place for you to be open and expansive and for you to get and receive what you're calling in. But when we're, tuned out and numbed out and watching TV and mindlessly eating something out of a container, how can we possibly be open to what we're able to manifest in our own lives?
Alyssa, first of all, thank you so much for giving me your time today.
Thank you
and
so much
letting
for
me
having
raid your
me.
kitchen and your fridge. Honestly, I'm so excited to put that together.
Just to let everybody know, there's zucchini, spinach, and kale in here.
Nice. And the zucchini for texture, as I learned.
Yes,
Creamy
creaminess.
texture. But before I let you go today, I kind of like to leave everyone with a little motivational quote or mantra that you really enjoy and invite in your life. I like to put people on the spot.
Okay.
That's good.
We'll keep it as be champagne, feel champagne.
Love that one. And honestly, no one's ever brought that here.
Yeah,
so
it's Marilyn Monroe.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. A little effervescence.
So this will be my version of champagne today.
Yes.
But thank you so much. It has honestly been really neat to watch your career over the last couple of years, like since I've known you. And I
Same
love
to
that
you.
your
When
green juice just ends up all
Oh.
over. Like there'll just be posts of other people that I'm like, oh, I didn't know they knew Alyssa. So I'm like, definitely check out her website because it's such an easy staple to make in your fridge and have in there. And I'm just excited to read your book because it will happen.
Life recipes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You've just listened to All Things Fitness and Wellness, brought to you by the British Columbia Personal Training Institute. Learn how to train, gain, and retain clients. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you never miss out on hearing from industry thought leaders and influencers. We are on a mission to help everyone live a life fit and well.